Mike said, I'm used to this.
228.4.
Oh, look at you. Mike, they got five on y'all.
On the biggest platform in the world, live on Netflix from Cowboy Stadium, the two men atop the bill for tomorrow night, live worldwide on Netflix. Two eras collide, youth versus experience, raw ambition versus proving dominance. One night, one ring, this is the showdown the world has been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the problem child, Jake El Gallo Paul! Texas, are you ready for Mike? Ladies and gentlemen, the former legal heavyweight champion and the former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Iron Mike Tyson!
It was good when I laughed at Jake.
You can't take him nowhere, man.
Boy, Mike done did it on him. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
Go and walk up and do some silly shit. Look at that. Go and walk up and do some silly shit. Go and walk up and do some silly shit.
Meditate.
Tyson. Get your goofy ass off the ground.
You got time to reconsider.
Hey, Mike looks excellent.
I'm excited.
Bro, that 58, bro? 58?
Why did you push him there?
Look at Ty.
All right,
Mike don't want none of that ass. Yeah.
It's personal now! It's personal now! He must die!
Oh, yeah.
Wrestling.
You doing wrestling.
Time, there he is.
Well, fellas, there it is.
You seen it.
Mike came out, ripped out,
Man,
slapped the bit.
Mike looks good, boy.
It is what it is.
Mike look like he 18.
Shit, I don't know if he can fight like he 18, man, but listen, I'm fired up for it. Man, let's get back to this hotel, shoot this show.
That's it.
Let's get it.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On this vision, I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant.
We got like a real open.
That's cool.
This is gonna be highly produced because it's Netflix and Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. You
Get
know.
on their good side. Got that bread.
Hey, man, nigga, I ain't never been treated like this.
Hey, you know it was real when the faces are on the room keys.
Man.
Yes.
Oh, the elevator. I'm not worried about Jake and Mike right now. I'm talking about the man that met me in the airport that had one job, make me feel welcome.
No, not in the airport, on the curb.
Yeah.
My lady said she was coming to valet to grab me.
He walked me through the airport and said, Mr. Crowder, there's a bathroom right there. Are you okay? I said, man, you know, I slide in there for a second.
Hey.
Ramos. Slide in there. Oh, Netflix got something.
Yeah, nah, Netflix is the real deal, boy.
Yeah. Well, welcome to The Pivot, guys. It's just a normal Friday in Arlington, Texas, right across from the stadium where we hope somebody wins a fight because their football team can't win a game. Fred Taylor, Channing Crowder, I'm Ryan Clark. This is The Pivot fam. Thank you for pivoting with us. So Chan, it's the day, man. The fight's tonight. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Just give me your thoughts on the entire spectacle that has become this Netflix sort of original.
Bro, it's so genius what Netflix did. I don't know if it's premeditated or what, but as we talk about, as the fight builds up, this is bringing two generations together. It's those old dudes that remember Mike Tyson, knocking folks out, the whole story of Tyson, and it's these jitterbugs that love Jake Paul. And they're arguing now. You getting my old 40-year-old ass arguing with a little 14-year-old talking about, man, you know what Mike Tyson is? Jake Paul is this and this and that and this. It is genius. It's bringing it together. Social media, they're pushing it heavy on social media. And Netflix already has a crazy fan base. And now, all you have to do is have Netflix to get it. Man, fights be, remember that was $80, $90? You getting an $80, $90 hour and a half, 2 hours at the airport. It's the reason why we're getting treated like kings and people are calling me Mr. Crowder, is because Netflix got this thing going.
Yeah, I think we talk about the JBL when we talk about the Tour Pros, talking about trailblazers, innovation. Like for Netflix to say this is what we're doing and the way they're doing it is non-traditional, right? It's unlike anything else. They're allowing podcasts to come in and be a part of it. You mentioned social media. It's just, it's not what we're used to. You're able to stream it if you do have the subscription. So I think they're allowing more people to put eyes, you know, on this event. And I think it's huge for guys like Jake, who comes from that social media landscape. You used to mess with him about being a YouTuber, but now he's followed his passion and his path to be able to be in the ring with Iron Mike Tyson. I mean, I guess the big question is, how did we really get here to begin with? And it was just a young kid who took everything and he parlayed, you know, that passion of being an influencer, being on YouTube, being in front of everybody and say, I want to box. And he pushed it forward. And now he's in the ring with Mike Tyson. Man, I find it very fascinating, to say the least.
I think the whole thing is, and I know people might scoff at this, I think the whole thing is inspiring because of the intelligence in which it was attacked, right? If you're Jake Paul and you've developed like this large level of fame, right? You've acquired and earned a certain amount of money, you don't want to go box in obscurity, right? The people that Jake Paul would have had to box on his way up to whatever title he wanted to attain or to whatever level he wanted to reach in boxing, nobody was going to watch those fights, right? Fighting boxers of that caliber or of that experience. So what he did was he fought people in mixed martial arts and he's fought people that already had a name so people would at least put eyes on it. And now you've parlayed that into fighting Mike Tyson. Whether Mike Tyson is 58 or 28, to people like us, and you mentioned it, Channing, Mike Tyson's freaking Mike Tyson.
That's Mike.
Right? Mike Tyson is going to be scary to us forever. It's like if we sat down right now and made our kids watch the first Halloween, right? Michael Myers, they would laugh at us. They'd be like, you scared of this? You're damn right I was scared when Michael Myers was standing by that laundry, just walking.
I see. When we sat down with Mike Tyson, we were scared.
Exactly. You know, and so like for us, it's that. I will say like the one thing that struck me was Mike Tyson said, to my kids, I'm nobody. But on this night, they'll find out I'm very special. And I think it made me sad and also made me happy for him in a way, right? Because the way that our kids believe that we're somebody is not about what we do. You played football, you play football, I play football. It's about how present we are. It's about how available we are, right? It's about how we sow into their lives every day. So Mike didn't necessarily do that. So he's thinking about this opportunity that Jake Paul and Most Valuable Productions are pretty much just giving him to say, hey, man, watch how all these people feel about me. Because that's why we're going to watch. That's why we're going to show up. And so, like, my biggest thing is, can we get a glimpse of that, Mike? Right? You 40, you 48, I'm 45. I'm nowhere close to what I was at 40. Right? And that was never the height that Mike Tyson was. I've never been the best in the world at anything. He was, right? And saying, can he grab a piece of that? Because if he grabs a piece of that at any point tonight, it will lock us in so much because we'll know if he touches Jake Paul, he'll put him to sleep. And if he puts Jake Paul to sleep, all of it's over for him, right? You'll never watch a fight. You'll never get another big promotion. And so to me, there is a level of pressure in doing this tonight that excites me.
Oh, no. Jake Paul, and you laid it out. That's the thing. The youth will last. But Mike Tyson still can go. And I seen the training videos, and I saw one where Jake was doing hopscotch, working on his feet, and Mike Tyson was beating the hell out of some trainer. Because that's what he's going to go. He's going to run in, and he's going to throw them things. And how much damage can Jake take and hold on? And that's the question. I think if it's a long fight, youth take over. But if you let that thing, if they really want to stand in the middle of that ring, That's still Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because I'm old. Bro, that's still Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
Mike's still throwing those overhand rights. Mike's still throwing them damn uppercuts that I saw him put dozens of people to sleep with growing up. I can't wait.
So you remember he was chasing Roy Jones around that ring, trying to make Roy really fight.
Oh, Jack.
Roy said, he was like, man, when Mike hit me with one of them things, I was like, damn, he still got it. That 18-year-old Mike who was knocking out people's daddies at 18, it's still in there somewhere. And I saw LT do an interview, and he was like, the one thing about Mike, he's an amazing person, but you got to be cautious the things you say, because Mike got that button. That switch, it just snaps by itself. But it'll be an interesting fight for me. I think Jake really wants people to take him serious. The work he puts in and everything he's done in preparation for this career outside of the social media stuff, you know, he still thinks people doesn't take him serious. And you see the guy training, he's all over the place, and his body is in tip-top shape. You know, he has this thing on where he doesn't look like he's fit, but Jake is fit, man. So it'll be pretty interesting, the outcome. And man, I don't want to cry. I cried when Buster Douglas beat Mike. I don't want to cry.
I don't think we feel that way about Mike anymore, where we cry about it.
We cool. We very good. You know, we cool with Floyd. And Money and Logan, Jake's older brother, got in that ring. And you could tell, like afterwards they were hugging, they were talking, they were, you know, laughing, slap. Mike's a pit bull. Like, that's how I explained when we had him on the pivot. Like, I was sitting there, and it's almost like sitting in a room with a pit bull where he's okay now. He's in the corner with his tail wagging. Right. If his hair raised up on the back of his neck, I get scared. And we said something, and Mike sat up in his chair, and I put my foot in the ground, because I'm like, there's no way I'm about to let this dude grab me. This is an exhibition, 8 rounds, 2 minutes? But like you said, if that bing bing goes off in Mike's head, I can't wait to see how he acts when he goes back to Iron Mike, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, it's a proving ground for everybody too. Like, you gotta think about what Netflix trying to do, right? This is the first live action sporting event they're putting on, right? We saw the roast of Tom Brady. We got to see that live. Now you see the first live action sporting event. And if you think the NFL ain't tapped in trying to see how this goes as it's approaching those Christmas games, right? Which, by the way, I would like to call one or be involved if Netflix wants to reach out.
Shot.
Just hit me.
Shoot
right?
your shot.
Just hit you, boy.
Shoot your shot.
But you know what I'm saying, though? Like, if this goes well, same thing you're saying, Chan, with all the streaming services, if everybody taps in because of my subscription, it feels free, right? It's not free because you're subscribing, but you ain't changing your monthly bills to get this. Now what happens when they roll around to those Christmas football games? And what we've seen, whether it's NBA, NFL, these streaming services are trying to be a part of it, and they paying big guap. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I was thinking about football. Dion was on with Irv, Keyshawn, Joy Taylor, and they asked him about Archie Manning and the way he controlled Eli's destination in the league, and asked him would he be the same way with Shedeur. And he was like, hell yeah. I'm not gonna do it out loud, right? I'm gonna work behind the scenes, but yes, I want him in the right situation. Do you feel like that's the right way for Dion to approach it?
I mean, it's been done before. You at least got to consider it. I think it's more, he wants to put the guys in a great situation to advance their career. Small market teams don't stand a chance. You know, when you talk about, these kids, they're very marketable. So Dion wants to have a continuation of that from what they're doing in college so they can take advantage of those opportunities once they step in the NFL. So much like what Archie did with Eli, you look at the Chargers market versus the New York market. We don't get the same thing from Eli in San Diego back in the day than what we got from him in New York. So he put him on that big stage, and he actually went and performed. So I think it's a little bit more of that for Dion. And then you got to also look at what are they going to sacrifice in order to make this happen. Do you go from 2nd pick to 6th pick? That money changes drastically in order to get in the proper situation that you want to be in. The front office teams, they either love Dion or they just completely dislike Dion. But what you're gonna do is respect Dion's approach. And he's been involved in their lives from day one. And I think he's going to make the right decisions for them by doing this. And I think the key in it all is when he said he's going to do it behind closed doors. So no one has to feel that they're being slighted or have to deal with public scrutiny or embarrassment. And teams don't want that. You know, the NFL front office, they always say, look, we don't want the circus or the extra media attention to come our way. But again, that's old school. We're in a new world with media and et cetera, et cetera. I like it. I mean, I love it, actually.
We here in Dallas. Dallas gonna have a high pick this year. I just think Deion's connection, Shedeur, just put it out there. Prime, you know you my boy, just put it out there. I've watched both of y'all, and it benefits me. We play ball, we successful media members, and we get in the restaurants easier. We skip lines. Things happen. We go to you. They say it's a wait list at the private school. Well, daddy got to go up there and talk to the administration. And you might get pushed up in the line. Why wouldn't, if you're in Deion's situation, if you're Deion Sanders, why wouldn't you use the pool? You worked hard. This goes back 40 years to when Deion started playing ball as a child to make himself prime time. He did all that to work that hard to get that respect you're talking about. Why not take advantage of it? If I have a chance to do that for Chan, if I have a chance to do that for Ava or Chaz, why wouldn't I do it?
Right.
You worked for that. That's not given to him. That's not just thrown in his lap. Deion didn't inherit respect. He gained respect, and they respect him enough to listen. Because you don't think some other parents want to walk in and say, no, my baby needs to go higher in the draft. Okay, Miss Lydia, go sit your ass down somewhere. We're going to figure out where your baby going to go. Deion gained this respect, and now he can use it to help his kids, to push his kids' career forward, or I guess manipulate where they should be in the best situation they should be in. Why not? Yeah. You know, why not? It doesn't make any sense. That's why Deion's doing it. Deion played it very smart. That's why Shedeur and Shiloh went with Deion and Jackson. They went to Colorado with Deion, and now they're going to have a chance to go to the next level. And Deion has slowly chess played every piece of it. Why stop now? You Deion damn Sanders. You earned that name. Everybody, if I say prime time, do you think about TV or you think about Deion Sanders?
Deion Sanders.
This man has made a phrase in the world because he was that good and that respected. Use that damn respect.
Yeah, I think the first thing that is very apparent to me about Deion this year is the noise has lowered because it would be more applause, right? It's not as loud anymore. We still don't talk about the fact that 2 years ago, the Colorado Buffaloes won one game. This year, they're in the Big 12 and they're 7-2. Deion is more than worth the money they had to raise to get him. The enrollment in the school has gone up. The prices of the tickets are more, and now selling out every single game. And it's not the attention that was on the team last year, right? Because last year was so much about what star was there and how much fun the game was going to be and the excitement and entertainment of it. Now it's truly about football. When people were leaving the school saying how bad he treated certain people, how he was when he first came in, everybody wanted to tell that story. Nobody is telling the story of a man that took a team that won one game and is now 7-2 and competing with an opportunity to win the Big 12. After they lost to Nebraska, everybody wanted to be a piece of that. Everybody wanted to talk about Shedeur's answer about the offensive line and Deion not having control of the team, not being a great X's and O's coach or whatever it is. And all this man continues to do for this team is stand up and be a leader, right? And I feel like because that's not a conversation people want to have, we are not having it. And I think that's something that should be talked about. Now, on the other side of the draft, right? Remember I said a long time ago, this is before Dak got his deal, and this is the reason I thought Dak wasn't getting his deal. I was like, this makes perfect sense. Mike McCarthy's on a one-year deal. Dak Prescott's finishing a one-year deal. Shedeur Sanders as the quarterback to the Dallas Cowboys, and now Deion Sanders as the head coach. What would Jerry love more than the eyeballs of the world being on the Dallas Cowboys for that every single week? Right now, obviously with Dak signing that contract, the team may be bad enough to draft him, but I don't know if they'll be in position to draft him and want him to sit or wait until Dak is done. But I do believe as a father, Dion has earned the right to help Shedeur Sanders be in the best situation possible. We saw it with John Elway back in the day, and it wasn't about his father, it was about him. He was also drafted in baseball. He could have been a Hall of Famer there as well. He said, look, before I go play for the Colts or wherever it was, I'll go home and go swing this bat, right? So he controlled that. We know that Eli didn't want to go to San Diego, who had the first pick. So they manipulated the draft and they maneuvered behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to get him in New York. And I think the job is of a parent, of a mentor, of a coach, or whoever it is to earn enough cachet through your actions, through your character, through your abilities, to be able to have the conversations to put your people in the best positions. The reason you work so hard as a father is so Lil Chan and Ava and Chaz can all have these things and opportunities that you didn't. When you walk in and you say you're Channing Crowder, it's different than when your father said he was Randolph, right? But he was also putting you in a position of working that you had. Same thing with you, Fred, same things with me. And so now that Dion can do that, I think he should be a part of this process. I do like the fact that he says he wants to do it behind the scenes. But the other thing that I think is very important is Shedeur Sanders' play has earned him this.
Yeah.
They're not putting Shedeur Sanders at the top of the draft because of his last name. They're not putting Travis Hunter at the top of the draft because of his association to the Sanders brothers or to Deion Sanders. They're putting him there because they're two of the best football players in the country, and they continue to show it every single week.
And the correlation between it is like, oh, that's Deion's boy. No, he balls. Mm-hmm. Look at Shedeur, he balls. He can throw and make every throw. And also, it's Travis Hunter too. That's not Deion's son.
Right.
That's just a great player that loves Dion and that's gonna know that he's having a great coach. There's a player right now in the NBA that can't play in the NBA.
Oh, Lord.
But lives off his daddy's name. And so this is the difference. Where you headed? No, we want to. You gone?
I thought he was
The
about to
light
do.
and the dark, fearless.
I thought he was about to do the ghillie to us. I thought his bladder had popped.
See, we got both sides of the spectrum.
Man, you ain't even let me finish because I felt like we was gonna talk about Shedeur possibly going to the Raiders or New York. But you want to talk about Bronny?
No.
Come on,
RC
man.
made me think about it, where it's like, I honestly think Shedeur can play quarterback in the league. I honestly know Travis Hunter can play on either side of the ball in the league. Bronny James is shooting 17%, and they're letting him play in the NBA.
It's a very short sample
I don't
size.
give a damn.
And then-
I can shoot 17%.
But Channing,
and running pick and rolls with
he's
my
only
daddy.
taking 6 shots.
Randy, come on, man.
He's taking 6 shots.
I know. And he's missing 4.
But he can make 2 and be 50%. I don't know, something
That's
like that.
55-51.
Yeah. He can be somewhere from there. But Channing,
No, if you manipulate the system, you got to make sure that you're manipulating it like a Eli Manning, who's a borderline Hall of Famer. We talked about that. Like a John Elway, who was a dog,
Monster.
top 5 all time.
right.
If you're going to manipulate the system, manipulate it for somebody like that. Bronny's not a manipulation talent. You can't manipulate the system second round. There's a number of players better than him. He's on the NBA roster. Now in the G League, RC texts me, he doesn't even want to travel away games?
I would believe that that's not Bronny's decision.
Whose decision is it?
I mean, it has to be the organization, has to be willing to do it. Rich Paul, he's the most powerful agent in basketball. That's why Bronny's not on a 2-way contract. And so I'm sure there were some conversations had around the way he'd be handled differently than other players.
Why?
I mean, I text
Because of his
the
father.
Because of his dad. You can't manipulate a system for a guy that can't have the talent to be manipulated for.
It was an opportunity for history. You can call it a photo op at this particular point in time. You look at these guys and hope that the potential was there. The Lakers, I think, as an organization, they did a great thing for LeBron and the NBA and their franchise. Like, that was a moment that's gonna be looked back and gonna be celebrated. Nobody's gonna say, well, he wasn't capable of playing in the NBA.
It's not true.
I'm not gonna say it. I like the opportunity for them to have made history, and now I want to fall back and say, let's see how Bronny turns out. You know, I ain't gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater. Not right now, not today. Give me, 3 years later from now, if we still see him in the G League and not, playing with the big dogs, then yeah, you can have that conversation. But it's been many guys that have gone from the G League and have gone back up to be successful in the NBA. Nas Reed, he just won 6-man. So half the Heat fucking teams, give them some time. These guys are gonna go there and learn how to play the NBA style game. And maybe that's that. Bronny hadn't played a lot of basketball. And I don't just want to.
He was 5-2 and 3 at USC. 5-2 and 3. Yeah, man, he making an impact when he's on the
It was certainly
court.
premature, but it made history. It fulfilled Bron's dream, and the Lakers got behind it. That whole relationship. So for that, plus. Bronny got to go figure it out himself, whether he's traveling with the team or not. And the reasons why, I don't know. But hell, they fly commercial. Think about the chaos in the airport. Bronny probably ain't never flown commercial in his whole entire life. They stay at Courtyard Marriott. In the NBA, they stay at the Four Seasons and the Lowe's and all the top dogs. I don't know. There could be distractions. I don't know the reason. But for whatever it is, they've made a decision and they got to live with it.
The distraction is that the Walgreens worker is running the point. That's the distraction of the whole team.
So the hard part is this, right? Is that we can honestly look at Bronny James right now and know that he is not an NBA-ready basketball player. I can also look at Bronny James with an outside eye and say to myself, I don't know if he'll ever be an NBA-ready basketball player. Because you know this, Fred, you know this, Channing. It's not always about how good we are. It's about how good we are as compared to the people we're competing against, right? There were running backs that were probably in your room, Fred, that were good enough to be NFL running backs, but they weren't better than Fred Taylor and Maurice Jones-Drew, right? So they weren't gonna get opportunities to play. Linebackers in your room, safeties in my room. We had good players in the room. They weren't better than Ryan Clark and Troy Polamalu at the time, so they don't get opportunities. Bronny James isn't good enough to get those opportunities over the other players in his competition range or the peers, right? Dalton Connect, who was the first round pick of the Lakers, he can hoop. He can shoot. He can contribute. Bronny James can't. And, Fred, I disagree with you. I do believe people will look back on the accomplishment of LeBron James of playing with his son or being on the court with his son as a photo op. They will look at it and say, but Bronny didn't deserve it. I don't believe LeBron James is focused on that. LeBron James, more than any player I've ever seen, has been concerned and prioritized legacy more than any other player in the world, right? LeBron James had the North Star of Michael Jordan, and he built a life and career to me to say, I'm going to exceed that, right? I'm going to exceed best I can what you were as a player. I'm going to exceed best I can what you were as a public father. I'm going to exceed the best I can the things that you were able to not only accomplish individually, but that you were able to accomplish as your total last name is concerned. And he's done that. As far as like Bronny James not traveling with the team on road games, and Fred, you saying, well, they stay at the Courtyard Marriott. What has Bronny James done that he shouldn't be able to stay at the Courtyard Marriott? You say, well, they fly commercial. What has Bronny James done where he should be too good to fly commercial? The pros isn't about where you came from, how you were raised, what your parents had. Professional sports is about how well you can contribute. And you don't get treated differently because of your parents. You get treated differently because of your ability to contribute. And if I'm Bronny James, which I'm not, and I haven't grown up that way, I'm begging Rich Paul, I'm begging JJ Redick, I'm begging my father, please let me travel with this team. Please let me stay at the Courtyard Marriott. Please let me fly commercial. Please let me go somewhere where I'm gonna get up more than 6 shots in 3 games to not only prove it to my organization that I'm worthy of being on this team, but to my damn self.
Yeah.
Right? I've never in my life been the best player on any team. I wasn't the best player on my high school team. I wasn't the best player on my college team. I'm not the best player on this professional team or this G League team. Let me go out and prove that. Because like, in the end, all of these accomplishments are gonna be for LeBron James. Bronny James gonna have money, but he ain't gonna have like the one thing that all of us ever want is proof to ourselves. Like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to walk off the field and be like, man, they didn't draft me and they cut me, but look at me now, right? Like, look what I've done. He's never gonna have that.
Man, I just thought about it, even talking about it. And you don't gotta say it, but I say it. I watch Notre Dame games now, cause my man Joe Clark, your son, that secondary is a dog, he jump in the nickel, I think he can play outside safety. I believe your son is going to get drafted.
Yeah, I think so.
Why don't we make history and whatever team drafts Jordan,
I gonna play.
they sign you and just one game 1. Come on now, think about it. Game 1, Joe line up in the nickel.
I'm the safety.
You line up in strong safety. We get a good photo op.
We get the rotation.
Your hamstrings tear. Somebody run your ass over. But we got the photo op. It's laying in front of us.
He is stupid.
How do we do that?
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And then Mike T probably can, well, I don't know where he's going, but Mike T can facilitate.
Put Joey Porter on the field, huh?
Throw Peasy out there. See if where Troy at.
You can go and get Dion negotiate the whole thing.
So now Jordan
watering,
Clark
boy.
can play with his Uncle Troy and his daddy behind him. Now we have a beautiful picture for the TV, Fred. Come on, man.
Go down in history.
There's only one person right now doing that, and the man is not gonna work. I would love to do it though. Hey,
Bro.
y'all, draft Joe Clark.
Bro, please do. Hey, please do. Please do. Fellas, let's talk NBA big threes with the NBA season rolling right now. For me, I'm gonna go with Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman, simply because Jordan is a part of it.
So I'm gonna have to go with Magic, Worthy, and Kareem, the original Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, all those guys was big bodies. They dominated, and they made the Lakers what they are.
Listen, man, all big. Y'all forgot LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. You got the big and Bosh. You got Wade in the guard. You got Bron play all 5 if you want to. Y'all gotta go Heat.
Another big 3 is from Fanatics Sportsbook.
They're boosting 3-leg NBA player props throughout the season. It's called the Big 3 Boost.
But you got to download the app and be on the lookout for when the next one drops.
Chad, what do you think the conversation is, though, between Bronny and Bron at this point? I think you have to know that your father was working his jelly, working his sort of accolades and his station in life to get you these opportunities.
Right.
What do you think the conversation is like now? Is this now the time where you can have the real conversation that I think I would have with my son, or that I have had with my son? Hey, man, I've done all I could. Right? Like, in high school, at every game, I'd grade every single play Jordan had. In the first year, I sat with him and we watched it together. The second year, I graded it and I said, now you go watch it and I want you to write notes and tell me what you could have done better, right? In college, in first couple of years in college, I actually had the practice film because AP was there. I'd watch the practice film, we talk about the practice film. Now I don't say a word, right? Because eventually, you got to go stand on your own 10. If he gets an opportunity to play in the league, I can't go. I've done all I possibly could for you. It's on you now. Bronny at that stage, Fred. I've done all I possibly could.
Nah, look, trust me, I was there. My son obviously was drafted in 2016. Same thing. I said, look, this is what we're gonna do. This is what I believe you need to work on. I've seen it all on the blueprint. You gotta trust me. And he was hesitant and kind of felt like he wanted to be his own man and do it his own way, and I respected him for that. Like, I believe that you would have benefited from us working together one-on-one, more than none. But he was like, hey, I'm gonna do my thing. So I said, all right. And I give him an opportunity to fall on his face. That's what I said. And I want him to figure out if that hurt or not. Because then you got to find out how to pick yourself up. Fast forward, he was able to come back and say, Dad, I should have listened to you. I should have listened to you. And I respect him even more for being big enough men to have that conversation. Bronny and Brun, they have to have a conversation. I think it's time for you to let him fly and see how it all works out. He's his own man. It might even be better, what you said, RC. Let me get the reps. Let me get the experience. But more than that, the one thing we all missed the most when we were no longer able to play the game, before the playing, is the camaraderie.
Yeah.
That fucking locker room. And that's why this podcast has been so special. It gives us that feeling. We're able to talk about the memories. You know what I'm saying? So I think they would be doing Bronny a disservice not to put him or allow him to experience those situations, those moments, and just the locker room and being one of the fellas, and him looking in and proving to himself that, hey, this is who I really am at the end of the day.
And this is the time when Lil Chan recently, he's 13, so I was a year ago when he struck out. He plays baseball year round. He started crying. He would cry, and I had to tell him, like I went at him like, hey man, it's okay. You get another at bat. The best players, Hall of Famers hit 4 for 10, and I say little stuff like that. It got to a point that I got frustrated, and now he's 11 or 12. I said, man, what's crying gonna do? What is crying gonna help? What are you being this emotional gonna help? You gonna help you hit the ball good or play in the outfield? Because now you done struck out. Now you gotta get on third. Now you gotta go to first. And it clicked to him. So, like, that's the lead up. That's what LeBron, and you see him working, and you see all the videos, him working with Bronny and doing all that. That's what a dad's supposed to do.
Right.
To your point, and to your point about Joe, I think this is the time where the history has been made. History's been made with LeBron. They got the video. They did the 2 pick and rolls. I said it before. It's 2 wasted possessions, but it is what it is. And now it's the time to, like you say, push him out the nest. Yeah. You're my son. Your name is Bronny. My name's LeBron. It's not James and Jim. We know who this is. Mm-hmm. It's time now that he has to prove it to himself. But RC, I thought when you said prove it to himself, I agree with you. But he needs to prove it to his teammates and the world that I'm not just here because my dad's LeBron James. That's what he has to do. And that's what I think Bron, so to answer your question, your initial question, I think that's the conversation. I think LeBron James is a genius man, an amazing father, philanthropist, husband. I think LeBron James knows that enough. I think they sit down, have a dinner, and he says, okay, this happened. We got the picture. You need to go follow your basketball path and see if it works out. And if it doesn't, me and your mom are going to be here with your brother and your sister, and we can continue to be a family. Your career is now Bronny James, separated from the dynasty of being the second best basketball player of all time, because I can't disrespect MJ.
Yeah.
Now it's Bronny. Now you have your little bubble, and I have this empire I've built. See what you can create.
Yeah, Rich Paul said something that I remember very vividly. He said, Bronny James wants this. He said that Savannah and LeBron didn't go through what he went through with his heart and with the complications of coming back from that surgery. Now's the time to show me that. Show me that you want it, right? I remember, man, Mike T, very vividly, we were having a conversation at practice because our kids are the same age. And he said, I'm trying to give my kids what I learned from my experiences of not having anything without having to make them go through what I went through to get that, right? How do I give my kid the hunger of being broke? How do I give my kid the want to of never having and wanting to have without putting them in that position? How do I teach them that every day that you going out and you're facing this dude that if he don't make it, his mama don't eat. Not just him, his mama don't eat, his kids don't eat. How do I give you the same will to win that that dude has when you already got everything? When your NIL is more than people will make for the rest of their lives. When the endorsement deals that you have are more than the first overall pick in this draft. How do I tell you, somebody who has all these things, and let's be honest, and has not earned them himself based on his play, right? Based on his accolades, how do I make that person a dog? Right? You know what I'm saying? And to me, like Fred said, part of that is clipping the wings, right? It's like the birds, right? You know, birds, they feed the little babies and eventually they kick them out and they gotta go fly. Yep. Like it's time for him to go fly because we all know there's a soft spot for him to land.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like even when you kick him out, if them wings don't work, man, don't even worry, man. He got a soft spot to land.
Yeah.
Hey man, the pivot is all about trailblazers. And I think one of the biggest trailblazers of our generation was Mike Tyson. To see Mike Tyson be as young as he was, man, come from the gutter like he did and be the world champion of the heavyweight division when boxing was the thing, to me, that was more than inspirational. It was one of those things that said it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter how people slight you, how big or small you are, that you can be the best in the world.
Hey, and these JBL Tour Pro 3 earbuds, they're trailblazers too. They're packed with so much innovation because you can't stand out by following others, and that's what we're all about here at The Pivot.
Man, and the JBL Tour Pro 3s are the first earbuds on the market with a touchscreen smart charging case. I love them. And you can control your audio without reaching for your phone. There's instant EQ customization and true adaptive noise canceling.
And too, bro, with this built-in, one-of-a-kind audio transmitter, you can plug and play with any device. Game consoles, in-flight entertainment, you can get connected to your favorite music, your favorite podcast. These earbuds do it all. And you get spatial 360 sound that takes any experience and turns it into a 360 audio experience. It's an immersive experience on anything from music to podcasts and more.
And these JBL Tour Pro 3s are the Pivot's go-to. Remember, first doesn't follow. The new JBL Tour Pro 3. Grab a pair at jbl.com.
Like I just remember, bro, when obviously I wasn't drafted, I remember getting on the plane and my parents, this is back in the day where your parents could walk you as far as they want to. My parents dropped me off in New Orleans to go to New Jersey to go to the Giants mini camp as a rookie, and my mama just hugged me and she whispered in my ear, go get a job. That meant everything to me because I knew when she said that, she couldn't help me. Like that was it. Like the cord was cut. I was out of school, right? I had babies. Like she wasn't gonna take care of them no more. Like they wasn't gonna help me. It wasn't gonna be babysitting if I ain't had no job. And so I think like when you get that experience, man, like there's nothing like it. But also, too, it made me think about, Chan, Fred said, you know, like, this is why this podcast is great, because it's like the locker room, right? There were like certain codes of the locker room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there were things that we saw, like it was stuff happening in the locker room, and I knew I cannot go home and talk about
Never
this.
to be repeated.
Right? Because y'all's gonna see this person, and one, I don't want them being judged. Two, I don't want me being judged by what they did. You know what I'm saying? And so now we got cats getting on podcasts. Podcast makes you way too comfortable, first off, and they really giving up the game. Like, you know, Nightcap, they like, yeah, man, like this guy's best teammate, best homeboy, slept with his wife, or then it's like, hey, like this dude had these people at the game and they maneuvered the tickets like this. If you're an active player, you gotta be like, golly, OGs, what you doing?
Don't set that precedent. Goodness gracious. Bro, say the game, I think the locker room's changing. I think with the attention, with the social media, with all that, it's changing. Like people they wanna be known, they wanna be seen, they wanna go viral, they wanna do this. These dudes are different now. So that same thing you talking about, bro, as soon as you started, it just was stories popping up in my mind of, I remember he had to call me to pick him upside the road. Oh, I remember that. I was his lie. Hey, C, I was with you all night.
And you don't ask no questions.
You don't ask no questions.
No questions.
So 3 hours later, I get a call. Channing I call him George. Was George with you last night? Yeah, man, me and George, when we slid down, we had a long drive. We was all the way down in Miami. We had to come way to Lauderdale. Okay, talk to you later. That was the code. Right? I don't know if that code is still here with how these young men, I hate saying kids now because it makes me feel old, how these men came up and how just the attention that they get and the openness of what they want to do. But I think that, bro, I swear, I think that code is gone. I think the code that we live by growing up in that locker room, you better have you a tight group of friends, because you can't just walk in the locker room acting crazy because somebody in there will think it is advantageous in some way for them to tell your damn business. Leave my business out your mouth. Tell your own damn business. Slap your own mama. Don't slap your head. Don't come over this way.
Yeah, I don't believe it's, there is not as much privacy in the locker room, now than it was when we were coming up. But it's all relative, too, because not everybody in the locker room move like that. Not everybody in the locker room get down. They hear the conversations, and then a lot of them can mind their business. But the guys that do move like that, whether they be single or, married guys that are moving like that, I think a lot of them stick to the code within. But as RC was saying, the OGs that are on the podcast, is it just the transparency of the conversation for the podcast people? Is it dry snitching? Or is it, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it gems? Like, what is it? At the end of the day, it's to be honest with you, too, it's some immaturity in that, too. You know what I'm saying? Because the game is to be sold, not told. You feel me? So a real OG really just gonna stay under the radar and move how he had always moved and not necessarily give that game back. Now, if it comes across as, jokingly, but it's the truth, there's always some truths and jokes, right?
Yeah.
Then that's that. And you gotta also understand who are the messengers. Some people just don't give a fuck. The particular podcast where it came from, one individual does not give a fuck. And you hear him talking about those type of situations all the time.
But my question to you is this, though, Fred. How much of it, because we do a podcast, right? How much of it is those are the things that people grab onto and become viral moments, right?
But that's what I mean by podcast transparency. It's the truth. It is the truth. And at the end of the day, who do they have to protect? They've lived that life. They're talking about their experiences, and that's fine. Doesn't mean they're that person or whatever, but these are locker room truths. And a lot of people hear about it, and they want to know if it's like these things actually happen.
Yeah.
And they can go to a podcast, or they can see a clip, and they can say, yo, well, damn.
That's the life.
That's how they got down. The athletes, that's just how they move, and that's what it is. So Juvie said it was G-code. I don't think it exists.
Listen, and I'm not no names, and I'm not calling out anybody from the people, that why this conversation started. To be honest, podcasting, y'all have it. There's people that aren't mentally savvy enough to talk around a topic. Mm-hmm. You can ask us any question, and we'll have an answer that's not going to throw anything under the bus. If we know this is going to go the wrong way or this is a problem, you're mentally or verbally savvy enough to do it. Some people aren't verbally savvy enough to navigate those waters. And that's what it is.
Some people don't care, Chan.
But why would you? And that's what I'm saying.
For that reason.
So like I said, talk about your damn self then. If you don't care, talk about your experience. Don't say nothing about me if you don't care, because I care.
Yeah, I think that's and they don't name names, obviously. Right. But you know it too. Like your old ladies and the people that were around you at those times, when they hear those things, they immediately can go back to that night, to that moment, to that era, to that year, and go, oh, but wasn't around that time you said this? And was this around the time that this happened? Or was this when your phone died, right? Like all those things start to happen. And it's a lot of situations from those times that we don't remember well. Right. And so you can get people into conversations if they still around those same folks that they don't really want to be in. I have this podcasting rule. Every story is not my story. And what I mean by that is everything that I was involved in, if it involves another person, it's not my story alone. Mm-hmm. Right? Like there are things, like there's there's a transparency I want to give our viewers and I want to give the world that's just purely selfish and therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
In the sense that, right, these perceptions get built up of us by the way we speak, right? By the things we support, the ways we look at different things. And sometimes like that perception becomes people's reality, and that reality becomes extremely heavy because you're actually trying to live up to something you're not, right? When people are like, oh, you're this, or you're great at that, or you're such a good whatever, and you want to say, no, I'm not, right? You want to say, I am flawed, and here's a story about how flawed I am, right? I am not that thing. I'm working to be that thing, but I am not that thing. And here's a reason why I'm not. But there's somebody else that's attached to that story that may have some sort of feeling about it or emotion about it or connection to it that doesn't want that part told about them. They don't want to relive it. They don't want to be asked about it. They don't want to have to recollect in a way that makes them pick apart other pieces of that could hurt them. So I don't tell those stories because I may have processed it, or I may be using you and the people that watch our show to process it, but somebody else also has to process it too. And we all got a ton of cool stories, right? A ton of quote unquote salacious things that we could say, but who's connected to that? And I think like that's always, to me, like that's always kind of the thing I weigh in telling stories, whether it be about the locker room or friends or former teammates, because like a locker room is full of messed up people like the world is. You know what I'm saying? It's 60 of us in that mother effer. You think they ain't one of us that got some stuff?
Perfect example. I told the world years ago, and it pops up about every 4 or 5 years on some radio show or podcast, when I pissed on myself as a grown man. I decided to pee down my legs every single game. People think it's nasty. People coming to me to this day in the gas station. Hey, man, you was pissing on yourself as a grown-up. And it's funny. I don't care about that. You just said it. We all know stories about each other. We all talked. We all at dinner and hanging out. We have great stories. They involve other people. If I knew somebody else that they used to piss on themselves, they're not comfortable enough to tell the world that they peed on themselves during games. I didn't want to pull them into my pee on yourself bubble.
Taylor is Zach Thomas did it too.
That's it. Like, I didn't want to. And
they Hall of Famers. They pissed too.
I have dudes that came up to me that I don't even know another team and be like, bro, I used to piss down my leg too.
Yeah.
I'd be like, bro, all love. I'm not going to tell that story because that's their story to tell. So all the stories, all the crazy stuff I say, even to your point, all the crazy stuff, all the crazy stories I say, there are other people involved that have to deal with that on the same aspect that I have to deal with it. I could take it, but I don't know if that person can take me telling them or putting them in that story. You take people out of stories sometimes for that same reason.
Yeah.
Where you make it just you. It might have been 6 dudes in the car, but in the story, you were riding by yourself.
Yeah,
you don't want to bring them in.
You manipulate the story, and it almost feels like being dishonest, right? Because you like, or two, you take away something you did that you really want to tell because somebody else was a part of it.
And that's the savvy.
You know, that's how you got to weave it.
That's what a lot of people don't have, and I think that's the problem.
But also, too, man, it's just like you understand that, like, those things grab the eyeballs, those things grab the ears, those things make people want to be a part of what you're doing.
It's the politics of it, of the conversation. You got to pick and choose how you want to weave through it and move around.
Yeah. And speaking of that, Freddie T, as we come to a close, I am not shy about what I feel.
What happened?
I'm very, I'm probably too honest about certain things. And I have received it from both ends after this election because I'm just kind of like, I understand certain things I don't understand, right? With this on certain things, and I'm not with that on certain things, right? And you make these decisions, and because I talk probably too much sometimes, like those things go out. I know you are associated with me in a way that not most people are. I'm sure you get sent things about me.
Defend your ass every day.
All the time. But you know, it made me, like there was a point in this, y'all, where I was like, man, I'm just gonna shut the hell up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a point, like, black people was mad at me, white people was mad at me. I was like, I ain't got, like, everybody, I'm stupid. You know what I mean? I'm gonna shut up. What do you think about, especially in this time and age, man, using your voice to be of some effect, and how, with your station in life and platform, you can affect change or community or just be of some sort of help?
I think it's important, but there's many different ways to go about it. You know, you can jump out there and say, I want to use my platform so everybody around that follows me can see it. Or you can just do the groundwork. You can go in the community and plant seeds and really grow the trees that way. And really, you just want to see the trees grow. You want to see them nurture and grow and see lives change on the surface level. I actually got a text 2 days ago by someone I consider a mentor, highly respect. The text was, I love you, pro, avoid politics. And, you know, my response was, you know, because I care about a certain community and a group of people, I become emotional and I try and speak to it. And based on my upbringing, I tend to tilt a certain way, but also I've been exposed to certain things where I can understand the other way too, right? But I ended my response to him by saying, I'm in the community. You know, I learned to allow my emotions to remove it from politics. After this particular election cycle, I understand more so now that politics are for politicians. It ain't really for the everyday person. You have to understand we get one vote and we got to use it accordingly. And however the chips fall, that's what it is. And then you got to learn to pivot within that, right? And we can help that. You know, if we feel a certain way about a certain community or group of people, we got to be on the ground to make sure we continue to enlighten and provide hope and allow them to see the work that needs to be done right there. I just told him, man, nah, I'm more community driven than politic driven. Because no matter how it goes, we all still got to live life at the end of the day. But we all can still help each other through this crazy world and this thing called life.
Yeah, and I guess the phrase of use your voice is where I would say, like, I don't think me tweeting out about politics or me telling people to be philanthropists is going to do nothing. If you meet me face to face, we talking about anything, I'm going to tell you my opinion. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to justify it. But I'm not going to tweet or Insta Snap or TikTok or with all that shit to people that just want to argue. That's what it is.
It's a lose-lose.
Y'all know over a decade now that I have a toy drive for the Boys and Girls Club. You know I support dozens of Boys and Girls from South Florida. I got involved in junior achievement, do fishing tournaments and charity and raise thousands of dollars. You say groundwork. I'm a groundwork guy or a face-to-face guy. I'm not sitting there arguing with you about anything over online and all that stuff. So I think I use my voice and I put the, actions speak louder than words to it. So anybody that really knows me, and in me being in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, in South Florida, they always see the stuff. They always see me out. They always see me working the room and getting people together. And my thing is kids. Grown people already fucked up. So I want to help the next generation of grown people. And that's what I do. My whole thing is kids with Junior Achievement Boys and Girls Club and different philanthropic things that I do. But yeah, man, I like to use, like you say, use your voice. I like to use my
Actions.
to show people. The one thing, I don't know if I told the story before, I think I told it a couple years ago, is walking around, I think I was in Target. Big old dude walked up to me with a little girl. He was 6'2". And he just walked up on me. He was like, Channing, deep voice and all. I kind of, put my little foot in the ground. I'm like, damn, I done disrespected this man in the past. He said, this is my daughter, Alasia was her name. He said, 9 years ago, you gave me a toy at the Boys and Girls Club. I've been to college, and now we start talking. But he went through college. Now he's married. Now he had a baby, whatever it was. He's 20, 21 years old. He said, it really changed me because you remember what you told me. He said, I asked you, why are you doing this? And my answer to him was, why wouldn't I? You need to care about people that you don't know. And that is something inside of you. And if you have that inside of you, keep it. And 10 years later, now he's a dad, and now he is putting that into his daughter, and she's gonna put that into her kids. And that's the impact I wanna make, to answer your question. That really impacts people. Me tweeting out an argument at somebody on DMs, that's not influencing anybody.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely tweet and argue with people in DMs.
I'm not attacking you, RC. I'm just saying,
it's okay.
different
It's
people
okay.
do.
It's a
Different people
revolving-
approach things in different
No,
ways.
it's okay. In lieu of transparency, my therapy meeting got pushed to Saturday, right? And I told my therapist, I was like, I'm having a really hard time. And it wasn't just about the election, it was about like the reaction to me actually trying to understand everybody, right? To understand the sides I didn't grow up on, or the people I don't get to talk to often, and to be a voice for what I feel and what most of the people around me feel. And she said something that was extremely powerful. She said, every generation has an ism. And she said the one we live in now is extremism, where everything has to be the extreme, where you don't get to be in the middle or slightly away from the end. Like, you have to be on this side or that side. So she said moderation will be attacked because people are so scared of aggression, so scared of violence, so scared of vitriol that they need to know if you're a threat. And they can't know that if you're not all the way on one side of it. You talked about like arguing with people, going back and forth. Like my biggest argument with people, the thing I want them to understand is like, I do love, support, and want all people to have good, right? I want them to know that like I can love and want great for all mankind, right? And that doesn't change just because I disagree with one kind of man. For me, like that's been really difficult to feel like the people I represent and the community that I come from is beautiful. That doesn't mean I think they're more beautiful than you. I just think they're as beautiful. That the people I represent and come from are smart. It doesn't mean I think they're smarter than you. I just think they're as smart, right? I want them to be equal, not below. I want them to be equal, not above. But for so long, when you supported a group of people, it feels like you're in opposition of another group, right? And so I don't want to have to dim my light for a group of individuals I love in order to shine a light on loving everybody. And so like that was hard for me to kind of like articulate and communicate, but like that's what I've been trying to work toward. And I think what's now happened is in living the life and experience I have, I've gotten to see both sides of it. Like I'm smart and I was talented. So I was the public school kid who grew up in a certain neighborhood that the white coaches took a liking to, so I got to go to the private school. And then I got to go to that private school and see a different life that other people live. They brought me into that because they cared about me. That's how I learned to know that just because the color of your skin doesn't make you good or bad, right? It's the contents of your heart, right? And so I learned that. But I also learned that Marvin, who wasn't as smart as me, but who was just as talented, who didn't talk like me, right? He didn't get that opportunity. So now his life went a different way than my life going, so I want more people's lives to go this way than that way. How do I allow that to happen? And so in trying to like figure all of those things out and speak to all those things, sometimes I do tweet or jump out and say things in protection of a certain group of individuals, but it's never in the offensive or the attack of another. And so now, like you said, it's about, okay, how do I continue to be a part of the communities I come from and I care about without making other communities feel like I don't care about them? And I think the other thing is, right, it's my experience is I was a 19-year-old kid from South Louisiana who had a biracial child. I was a grown man with one biracial child, 2 black children that had to teach that child that all of her is beautiful, the white, the black, every piece of it. So then when you're talking to the other 2 kids and you're talking to them about whether it's race or whether it's culture, you have to communicate to them in a way where they know the half of their sister that is different than they are is also perfect, right? And then you have to raise a son who grew up because he was affluent, because he was privileged, who grew up around everybody thinking everybody should be loved, everybody should be the same. And you say, man, you date whoever you want. And then he has to come home and say, this is the girl I like, and she's a white girl, but we have to hide certain things and move in certain ways because their parents don't want her with a black boy. And now I got to explain to my son, who I think is perfect, that you're a straight A student, that you're a great athlete, that you're a Christian, and if they can't accept you, then you don't need to be there. But what we won't do is treat her like they treat you. Right. See, these are the experiences I've had, and I don't feel like I need to share these every time I need to show you that I love all people. I am not a victim. I am a millionaire, right? I am not in fear because hate, evil, none of that scares me. But I do feel that we have a responsibility based on the opportunities we have been given to be out in the front of some of these things. And I'll continue to do that, whether people like me or not.
All those experiences you just said, from you growing up, being public school, getting the opportunity, same story I saw at a Nike camp, and then I got to move out to Roswell from to go to the private school, to your kids, to your biracial daughter, to all your wonderful kids that we know, they call me Uncle Chan. I'm proud of that. Those are what created you. And it's a saying, they philosophers who Plato and all them people, the real philosophers that people call philosophers. My philosophers were Wayne and Jeezy, but one of my other philosophers, Jay-Z, but Bernie Mac. That's you. Everybody out there, your life created you. Be yourself. If people don't like you for being yourself, then fuck them. It's a clip. We can pull it up. Play it after I say this. That's one of the things I really kind of live by. Y'all know who I am. Something I really live by. I have 40 years of life coming into what made me sit here today. And you don't like this, of all the growth and the troubles and the ups and the downs and the arrest and the successes and the marriage and the children and the everything that's happened to me that created what I am sitting here, what we are sitting here. If you can't accept that, if you don't like me for me, fuck you. And that's what makes my life easier than most people out there, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Hey, I'm sitting over here thinking this is the pivot, man. We done went from boxing, having passion, being an influence, inspiration, to family, football, or football by way of family with Dion, that conversation. We touched on basketball, more family, Bronny. We ended up going to lifestyle, the locker room, what this is, the locker room. We dove into politics by way of community and more family and life. You talking life, you talking life. This fucking show is amazing. We are good, bro.
The Pivot fam, we appreciate y'all. Good show. That's one of the best ones, man, honestly.
Yeah,
straight up. That was a great show.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On this vision, I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up.